Hey class, I hope you've enjoyed everything so far, and we're coming down to the last week, and I got a couple requests for me to do some video comments on what we've covered so far. So here goes. I hope you've enjoyed the point-counterpoint videos that we've been doing. I certainly have enjoyed them. I'm doing the research, looking at creationist and evolutionary models from everything from age of the Earth to fossil records, chemistry, biology, the cosmos, and then this week when we talk about applied Darwinian theory and looking at some of the potential problems that can arise from that. First of all, like many of you, it's astounding to me to see how when you watch those videos they look so convincing until you see the counter video from the other side. And I hope this has been valuable for you in understanding the nature of this debate, where we talk about science and we talk about evidence and observation and then coming to our conclusions. But what seems to be the case to me in most of these videos is people start with their conclusions and then they go out and find the evidence to back what they believe. Or they can be looking at the same things, for example the videos of the complexity of the eye or the bombardier beetle. That was a good example, where it's the same beetle, creationists and evolutionists are looking at the exact same thing and they get wildly different interpretations of what's going on. The creationists on the one hand say, look at this design, this never could have evolved, the beetle would have blown himself to kingdom come, if there was a kingdom come, long before he could have developed this elaborate firing mechanism. And then on the other hand, evolutionists are like, no, this could happen through gradual stages of different developments of toxins in the beetle's skin that were concentrated and eventually developed a firing mechanism. And I would tend to think that depending on what you believed at the beginning of the video would simply be reinforced by the one who advocated your position, and the one that was contrary to your position could be written off as speculation or scientific laziness, depending on your worldview. Okay, so that's, I hope you enjoyed those. I hope it's encouraged you to research more on your own. Really, in this kind of short class, I feel like all I can do is kind of present to you the arguments, present to you the methods and the worldviews, and to see some of the strengths and weaknesses of the arguments. I've been very impressed by your critique papers. They've been very well done, very nice on the pros and cons, very nice on trying to stay objective for most of you. And I hope this will help you if you do get into further discussions with people who have a contrary worldview to your own as to how to discuss a thing with them without it getting too inflammatory. I've been taking quite a few road trips this summer, and I apologize if that's been an inconvenience to any of you in the class, but part of what I've been obsessing on and going through the mountains and canyons, the deserts of California, looking at some of the great trees we have in the state, from the coastal redwoods to the sequoias, which are the largest trees in the Sierra Nevadas, and then to the bristlecone trees high up in the White Mountains of California, which are supposed to be the oldest living beings in the world. And the oldest living bristlecone is almost 4,800 years old, although if you watch the dendrology videos you saw that they believe that they have tree rings that they can trace back up to 8,000 years. Really interesting to think about these different things and the age of the mountains and the valleys of California, along with its organic beings, especially the trees. So I've been kind of obsessing on how do you determine the age of something. If you've looked at the videos with dendrochronology or carbon-14 dating or radiometric dating, it's very interesting seeing the debates on what's valid, what's not. And once again, I've kind of come to the conclusion that people pick the dates that they want to corroborate what's convenient for the worldviews. Creationists, for the most part, looking for a very young Earth to line up with what they understand as a biblical timeline, and then of course evolutionists needing much greater lengths of time, into the billions of years, to accomplish the evolutionary process. And this is one of those things that I simply could say I don't know. I mean, I really don't know how you could even begin to model how long erosion or these sorts of things would take place. I'm looking at the Sierra Nevadas. They look like a fairly young mountain range to me because of their ragged peaks and the amount of erosive deposits and alluvial fans and whatnot that have come down into the valleys. And they seem much younger in the south than they do in the north, where you get a park like Yosemite, which seems to have very obvious glacial molding and sculpting taking place, where you get much more U-shaped valleys as opposed to the V-shaped valleys down in like Kings Canyon Park and places in the lower Sierras. But how would you even begin to model something like that? You would have to take into account how long it would take those mountain ranges to be pushed up. By looking at the strata in many of them, you can see a lot of the different layers, especially in the White Mountains. How long does it take a glacier to carve a granite mountain? I don't know, and I don't know that anyone has seen that take place and how we could measure something like that. So that would be very interesting to me if someone could build a model to show erosion, long-term and short-term. For example, we have the theory of uniformitarianism with Lyell that came out that basically says erosive processes that are happening today are similar to those that happened 10 years ago, 100 years ago, 1,000 years ago, 1,000,000 years ago, as opposed to many young earth creationists who talk about catastrophism with the idea specifically of a worldwide flood and what took place in that context.